record. All right. So what I wanted to show you guys today was how we find the volume of prisms and pyramids, specifically those that have square or rectangular bases, all right? So I want to look at this one right here, number 3. Can you guys see that one pretty well? Okay. So what we do when we're finding the volume, now, you know, we're used to, you know, if we just have a distance, that's one dimension. When we have area, that's 2 dimensions, right? And when we finally move to a cube, now we're talking about 3D, okay? So as we move through these different types of measuring geometric figures, we have to change how we find them, and we also change how we describe them. So like, if my bedroom was 7 by 12 feet, then I would say it was 84 feet squared or square feet, okay? And the 2 has to do with the 2 dimensions. So in the same way, when I have a 3-dimensional figure, and let's say it has maybe it has a measurement of 300 inches, it would be inches cubed, or it would be, well, that's actually the only way you do it. You wouldn't really do cubed inches. That we don't do that. Hold on a second, I got a chat. Somebody's got a question. Dang, that's a small room. Yes. In my old house that had 3,000 square feet, we had massive rooms, lots of space to mess up. So, as an example, let's say I have a cube. And let's say it has dimensions of 5 by 4 by 8, okay? Now, this base right here would be 5 by 4, which would be 20 units, because I'm not using it, units squared, right? Now, every time I go up one level, let's say, think of it like a stick of butter. If I have a stick of butter laying flat and I start cutting off 1-inch segments of it, each one of those 1-inch segments is going to be a certain amount of inches square, cubed, right? So the way this works is we keep cutting these slices until we have 8 slices, but each of those slices is going to be 20 times that one slice. So what ends up happening is we take the measurement of the area of the base and we multiply it by the height. So we have this big B that we start using, which represents the 5 times 4. And we multiply it by the height, which is 8. So we end up with 5 times 4 times 8, which is 160. And again, it's going to be units. And this time it's going to be cubed, because now I'm talking about volume. And volume, since it involves 3 different dimensions, has to be expressed by the 3. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Everyone good on this so far? All right, I'm going to assume everyone's okay since nobody's commenting. Now.
No, mister, I'm lost. I don't know what you just did.
You don't know what I just did?
Yeah, I got lost halfway through.
You mean you weren't paying attention?
No, I am paying attention. I don't even have my phone right now.
Okay, so when we have a base of 20 here, right? 5 by 4. then every bit of space above it is going to be 5 by 4 by whatever the height of that space is. Does that make sense? Kind of like if you think about this as being like the bottom of a single cube, and if it's 1 by 1 by 1, it's going to be 1 cubic inch, right? Does that make sense? Amaya? Okay. So if I have 20 square inches on the bottom and there's 8 inches above it, then each one of these little squares on the bottom here are going to have 8 cubes above it. Does that make sense?
No.
Well, think of it like if I have a square and then I put a cube on top of it, just put a cube block on top of it, and this is 1 by 1 and the cube is 1 high, then it would be 1 cube, right? One cubic whatever, 1 cubic inch. Okay, but if it was 8 high, wouldn't it be 8 cubic inches?
Yeah.
So this is how this works. So since I know it's 8 high and there's 20 squares, then the volume of the whole thing is going to be these 20 squares times 8. With the idea that we're thinking about the fact that there are 8 cubes on top of each square of that base.
Where did the 20 come from?
What's that?
Oh, 5 times 4. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, this is the, so if you looked at this cube from up top, it would look like this. Okay. And then if you looked above it, height-wise, there would be 8 levels above it, kind of like an 8-story building. Yeah. And so if it's 5 by 4, then it's going to be times 8, and that'll give us the whole volume. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad that you asked. You know, I always like it when you ask. So now let's look at this one here in the problems. Now, I see I've got a 9 by 12 on the top, and then it's 12 high. So that means these are my 3 dimensions. Yeah? So when I multiply these 3 together, I'm going to get the volume. Now, let's see. Do I have my phone nearby? Where's my phone? There it is. So when I use my phone and I use my calculator, oh, look how neat, it's right there. And I do 12 times 9, I get 1,296. So 1,296, and it's inches. So I'm going to say it's inches and cubed. Again, it's cubed because it's volume. Does that make sense? Because otherwise, if it wasn't volume, if it was area, it would be squared. But since it's volume, I have 3 here, I have 3 numbers here. Since those 3 got multiplied together to find the volume, we have to put a 3 above the inches. Questions on that? So in the chat right now, I'd like you to give me a yes if you're getting it, or a no if you need help. Yes, I get it. No, I need help. That's a great question, Jacob. I'll answer that in just a moment. Anyone else? Okay, good. So far, everyone's feeling pretty good about it. Jacob, the way you can tell that what those dimensions are is that since you've got more than 112 and it's not at the same level, then you know that one of those has to be the height. And if you kind of look at the object, you can see that square on the very top is the base, but then there's another 12 over here. Okay, so this is up, this has got to be the height, and then this is going to be the big B. So I'm going to do base times height. Well, the big B equals 9 times 12, and then the height equals 12 as well. So that's why I would multiply these 3 together to get the volume of this cube. We're going to do a couple more of these just to make sure we're clear on it though, okay? This is actually quite easy, relatively speaking. So sometimes I do end up with people that get it, but they can't believe that they get it. So they're pretty convinced that they've got it wrong. So sometimes this is math where that can happen. Let's look at this next one here. So if we look at this one, I can see that I've got a 10, a 9, and a 4. Now, that 4 kind of looks like a height to me. And it doesn't matter which one it is. I can pick any of the 3 numbers to be the height. But then it seems pretty easy to see that this is the top of this box, right? And the top of this box is 10 times 9, right? And then if the height is 4, then this is going to be my math problem, right? 10 times 9 times 4. Yeah? Good. I'm glad you see it now, Jacob. Does that make sense, guys? So I'm going to get 90 times 4, which is going to be 360. Did that clear some stuff up? Savannah, does that make more sense now? Do you think you get it now? Does that help put you over the edge there? Good. Janaya, is this making sense to you, darling? Awesome. So you just need to do the first 10, and I've already done 2 of them, right? So you're going to do 1 to 10, and then on Wednesday we'll talk about pyramids. Although the only difference between the prisms and the pyramids is you divide by 4, because pyramids are exactly 1/4 the size of the same size prism. But we'll deal with that later. I don't want to necessarily have you work on that, but you want me to do one of them just for the heck of it? Should I just do one? So let's look at number 11. I'll just do number 11. It doesn't hurt. Okay. I'm a terrible artist when it comes to some of this stuff, so you're just going to have to be patient. And then in here, this height is 11. So the way this works is we've got the same kind of stuff. Now this shows that this hits at a right angle. This is right at the center of the pyramid. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to find the big base, which we know is 11, times 12, right? Here's our big base here, right? And then we're going to multiply it by the height, which we know is 11. But then we're going to divide the whole thing by 4. Now, what I think is so cool about geometry is we see some of these kinds of things where a pyramid is exactly 1/4 the size of a prism that has the same dimensions, which I think is really weird and also really cool. I think that's really interesting. So in this case, we would do 11 times 12 times 11, right? Here's our 3 numbers over here. And then we're going to divide the whole thing by 4. So let's do that.
11 times 12 is 132.
And when we divide the whole thing by 4, we get 363, okay? Because I took all of these together and then divided the whole thing by 4. All right? So we would say, what is this, yards? We would say this is yards cubed. And yeah, this is our assignment. There's 20 questions on this worksheet. And that's the assignment for the week. And then we have one IXL to do, which is on area. All right. Let me kill this. So how are we doing on this? Does this seem pretty good? Like not a big deal? We can do this?
Yeah.
All right. So I made this, I